Hey folks, how are you doing? I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I certainly did, and I'm glad that I didn't do an episode on Thursday because there was no way I was going to take a break from gorging myself with food to do this, but I'm so happy to be back with you here. I am Spike Cohen. This is Culture of Winning, and this is the show. If you haven't watched it before, this is the show where we talk to elected libertarians who win elections, to see how they won their races and to talk about the blueprint for how libertarians can replicate what they've done and to replicate those successes in races large and small across the country. And I believe that it is important for us to go into the next phase for our party, which is to be able to contend and win large races and small races and medium-sized races across the country and be able to actually get our goals implemented as actual policy. And with that in mind, with no further ado, I would like to introduce my next guest. She is the duly re-elected city councilor of the Burnsville, Minnesota City Council. She is also in charge of candidate recruitment for the Libertarian Party. So if you are someone who is thinking of running for office and still wants to do so after watching these episodes of Culture of Winning, she is who you would want, one of the people you would want to speak with. And she is also a dear friend of mine, and I'm really, really happy to have her on. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming our guest to this fifth episode of Culture of Winning, Ms. Cara Schulz. Cara, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me on. It's good to see you again.
It's good to see you too. How have things been going since I was up there?
Pretty good, pretty good. Minnesota is, a lockdown state, so
Yep.
things are a little challenging right now.
Well, this is a perfect example of why we want to get elected. You know, we often talk about our ideas in the abstract. Wouldn't it be great if we could do this? Wouldn't it be great if we could end this? Wouldn't it be great if we could introduce this? Wouldn't it be great if this happened and that happened? When you are in a situation where the government is telling you
Right.
that you can't go outside while they themselves do whatever they want, whenever they want to, even, put aside that it's during the holiday season, put aside that they've been doing this for months now on and off, put aside the fact that there's not much scientific basis that doing this really helps all that much at all and does actually far more damage. But just the fact that they can do that, this is a perfect example of why it's time for us to win elections. To be those people in charge who go, no, we're not going to shut everything down. We're not going to tell people how to live their lives. We're going to empower them with the information they need to be able to move forward. So I'm really, really honored to have you here, and I'm so happy to have you on. And just before we get started, I just wanted to brag on Cara a little bit. Cara is so persuasive in getting libertarian candidates to do what she wants that she got this libertarian candidate to take a 3-day pause from his campaign to go, and I was happy to do it, but to go and do door knocking for Chris Claviter, who was running for mayor, and I did it, and I guess so. I was going to tell you that I didn't have any gotcha questions, but I do have this one gotcha question. Do you have a magic potion, or what is it that you do to convince people to drop everything they're doing and do what you want them to do right then?
I wish I did have magic potion that could make people do that. No, it's just that you are a great human being who can be guilted into things.
That's how you do it. You tell them that they're okay, folks. You want people to get stuff done. Tell them how great they are. Say, if the person in front is Bill. Bill, you're such a fantastic human being. You're so amazing. You're so amazing that I can't think of anyone better to do whatever it is you want them to do than you, Bill. So, Cara, before all these episodes, the way that I get started on all these episodes is to ask my guest, and you're now my guest, what brought you to libertarianism and to the Libertarian Party? Was it kind of an aha moment, or was there sort of a gradual evolution to being a libertarian? Tell us the Cara Schulz story.
Okay. I felt strongly about civil liberties, and I felt strongly about economic liberties, which really are civil liberties, but
Right.
And but I had always been on the periphery of politics. I had been a reporter, a news producer, that type of thing. And so I had always followed it really from the outside. And so you develop that feeling of really delving into something, but trying to stand back and away from it. And then when the Gary Johnson campaign hit, the 2012 one,
Okay.
I was just listening to the radio. My husband and I were driving somewhere, and I can't even remember where. And he was just on a short little interview. And I listened to him answer those questions, and I was like, holy crap, like that is it. That is it. And at that point, he was still running for the GOP nomination. And we were like, there's no way the GOPers are going to nominate him. Like,
Oh, that's right. I
way
always
too much
forget.
sense.
I always forget that he ran for as a Republican in 2012 and then dropped out and ran as. I always forget that part. But
Yeah.
anyway, go ahead.
Yeah. And so he was, I mean, that interview was just amazing. It was just a short little clip. And so I thought, I have to find out how to help this guy. Like,
Right.
I don't think he's going to get the GOP nomination, but I will joust at that windmill, And so I got somewhat involved. And then it was right about that time that he dropped out and said he was going to run for LP. And I was like, not entirely sure what that is. I mean, I know liberty-ish. I
Right.
know libertarian philosophy, but I don't know a ton about the Libertarian Party itself. But I just jumped into his campaign, and they wanted to have him come visit right away after I just got involved with his campaign. We were trying to figure out who was even supposed to be doing his campaign in Minnesota. The person who did it took all the campaign goodies and put them in his garage, and then promptly refused to do anything or communicate with anyone. I'm not sure if that was planned. I think it was planned.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so I jumped in and just started helping, and I had a little bit of an events background, and so I got everything planned. And then after a couple calls with the campaign, they were like, oh, and by the way, you're now the director for Minnesota. And there you go. I got hooked.
So you learned from the best on how to get voluntold into doing stuff.
Right. And yeah, I learned that if you do something, you're going to be snapped up right away and then put into some role. Or the other way that this happens is if you're at a meeting and you go to the bathroom, that's when they vote to put you in
vote
charge.
for you to be the person because you're already registered as someone being there. That is, and you can't speak against yourself because you're in the
Right.
bathroom. That's a crafty trick. One thing I want to say, because I've had some people who have accused me of not trashing the Libertarian Party, but kind of poo-pooing how things have gone. In my mind, I think I'm trying to be realistic about what's happened and what we have to do to move forward. But I do want to say this, and I heard this time and time again. The level of organization that this party has and the level of infrastructure at the grassroots level and at the state level and local level that this party has is head and shoulders above what it was in 2016, which was head and shoulders above what it was in 2012. We are a very, very professional party. And so when I hear you talk about like in 2012 where someone just showed up and took all the stuff and put it in their garage and no one heard from them again, that didn't happen this time around because we have a well-oiled machine in all 50 states. So I do want to say that we have, our problem is not the grassroots. Would you say that? Like our grassroots, it's small, but in terms of dedication and professionalism, we have that in spades.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And yeah, I mean, at all levels, the LP is, it is just an entirely different animal from when I started in 2012. I mean, like our state party, and I am not disparaging my state party whatsoever. I am ridiculously proud of my state party and proud of my state party's history. But it was dark days when it was 5 or 6 people meeting in someone's basement. And passing the hat to keep the party going. Like they kept that spark alive, like the this story of Prometheus grabbing fire, and he had to, keep it in the stock of fennel to keep those embers alive to give to man. Like, that's what was happening during that time. They were keeping those embers alive. And so many people came on board in 2012 with that campaign. So many. So whenever I hear people disparage Gary Johnson or that campaign, those are fighting words. I will fight you. Because I saw what it was like, and I saw the people that came in 2012, and how our party grew and just got stronger. And it's not 5 or 6 people meeting in a basement anymore. Like, our conventions are very large and well run, and lots of workshops and speakers and educational opportunities and social opportunities. Good coverage, the whole bit. So, watching it go from 2012 to 2016, and now to your campaign again, bringing in wonderful, amazing activists that not only re-energize people who are like, oh, I'm overworked, man, I've been doing it.
But bringing in new blood as well.
Great ideas too.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's a fantastic thing. And the metrics, and I said this in a few speeches, that, in terms of metrics of bringing people in, we had some major wins in 2020. The number of people that joined the Libertarian Party grew by 30% just since March. And we're at some, at our modern all-time highs for membership to the party. And unlike in the past, there's a very close bond between membership to the national party and to the state and local affiliates as well. So, which is crucial, because when I was campaigning, doing the bus tour and the fly ahead tour and everything else, and I'm sure Joe could say the same, when we were campaigning, it was the grassroots doing the heavy lifting. So we have a great base. We brought a ton of people into the base. We just have to keep bringing more people into the base, and we have to work on what do we do with that base? How do we use that base effectively to win elections? And that's what we're here to talk about. So with that in mind, because you, as I understand it, just so happened, what a coincidence that you're on the show, you just so happened to win a re-election, actually. So what originally made you to decide to run for city council, and how long have you been doing this? I know you've been re-elected twice, right?
Nope, this is my first re-election.
Oh, this is your first so you've had 2 terms.
Yep.
Okay.
I'm on my second term now. I get sworn in for my second term mid-January. Okay.
So what was it that made you decide to run for that office?
Well, again, and this is also why I fight people. I'm a lover, but I will fight. So after the 2012 election, and it was 2013, both Gary Johnson and Judge Jim Gray, who is the vice presidential nominee for that election, went to different states, and they asked to meet with small groups of people that they had met during the election, the 2012 election. And their pitch was, please run for local office. I want you to find a local office, and I want you to run for local office. And there was, I think, 4 of us in Minnesota that they met with. And, and we were all shocked. None of us had ever ran for office at all, like for anything. We had helped with some things. We had helped with his campaign. We had, worked with our state affiliate, but we had never even thought of really running for office ourselves.
Right.
And their pitch was, we need you guys to get libertarian solutions out to people. We need you to demonstrate that these solutions work. And we need people to get used to seeing libertarians in these stewardship positions, these elected stewardship positions. Because if they're willing to vote for you and they get to know you and they will trust you, they'll be willing to then start voting Libertarian up ticket as well. And so we ran. And 2 were elected, Elizabeth Dahl and Olga Parsons. and they were elected. I did not get elected in 2014. I worked my butt off. I came close, but I was up against an incumbent, and man, that's hard. That's just hard. But I got close enough that I thought, I can take another crack at this in 2016. And so I wrote down everything that I did well, everything I did not do well, things I wish I had done earlier, things that were a waste of time. Like right after the election, I kept it in a sheet so that I would have all of that information, so that when I ran in 2016, I would be hitting the ground running. And then that's exactly what I did. And I had my plan, and I executed that plan in 2016, no matter what. Like nothing was going to stop me. So there you go.
And when you say nothing was going to stop you, you mean nothing was going to stop you. Now, I'm pretty sure I already know the answer to my next question. When you ran, and I like I said, I think I know the answer. What would you say personally for you was the most challenging part of running for office in this, or not just in this election, in any run that you've been doing?
It was a couple things. So I had health difficulties.
Yep.
And I had to decide whether I was even going to run or not, because I was diagnosed with a late stage cancer, and it had a very low survivability rate. And I knew I would be going through some pretty significant chemotherapy and surgery. So I had to really think, like, if I have X amount of time left, is this how I want to spend it? So that was the first question. So that's kind of like a deep diving question.
No,
right?
yeah, no,
it's I could be on a beach, or I could be door knocking for like 4 to 6 hours every day.
Yeah.
And I had to talk it over with my husband, and just see if that was something I could really do. The other difficult part was I realized I was not going to have any privacy at all while going through this.
Right.
Because I needed to be very upfront and transparent, and let our residents know exactly what I was going through. Like, what are my scans? What is my treatment regimen? How does it look? What are because I could not ask people to vote for me without giving them that information.
Of course. Yeah.
And so that brings up some really tough questions that you get and have to answer. And then, physically it was grueling. Just going through chemotherapy is grueling. Just recovering from some pretty significant, lengthy surgeries, that's grueling. And, but man, campaigning on top of that, that was something.
I can't even imagine.
And you have all these issues. You have the expected nausea, which you're going to have. But the other thing was I was extremely sensitive to sunlight, so I would faint when I was outside, which is not good for door knocking.
Which is not good for walking through neighborhoods and knocking on doors. And I know the neighborhood you were doing it in, because I literally did it there. So I know the hills you had to walk up and down and all. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And Burnsville is not flat. And these houses, like, you do the whole huge stairs and things onto the top. And So it's, it's physically grueling even when you're feeling good. But that was horrific. And, the thing was, like, just to stay focused and to say, this is why I'm doing this. And I am not going to give up. This is not happening.
Yep.
And I did the candidate forum with a garbage can between my knees, and just told the guys on the mics, I'm like, listen, if you see me starting to throw up, I got to just cut my mic. I can't, like, this is just how it's going to be. So let's do this.
There's, the grit and determination of, so during this camp, and I told you this in person, I think I actually said it at my speech when I gave my speech in Burnsville, or Was that Burnsville I spoke in, or Minneapolis?
It was, yeah.
That was Burnsville? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it still was. And I think I even mentioned it in my speech, but if I didn't, I certainly said it to many people who came up. And when people would say to me, "Oh man, you're campaigning, you're going around the country, you're doing 1 and 2 stops a day, you're in a different state every single day, and you've got MS. Wow, that must be incredible."
It
and
is
the whole
grueling,
time,
though.
I was on fire. I loved every second of it, but it definitely was challenging. And there were days where there was no sleep happening. Every time that I would even begin to think, man, this is a lot, I would think, Cara Schulz was literally passing out, walking up and down. And I even said it to myself, because one of those times was when I was supposed to have like a couple days off and just be at home lying face down on a couch for 2 days, and instead I'm walking up and down, these suburban neighborhoods with very generous lot sizes, and going and door knocking for Chris, which I loved every second of it. But I'm doing it, and meanwhile I was in 70-degree weather. Everything was nice. I had someone walking with me, our friend Amos. I was walking with me and all that, but every time I would think, man, this is tough. I have MS. I'd like to have a couple days. I thought Cara Schulz probably knocked on this door, recovering and in the midst of surgeries and chemo, and routinely just passing out and getting up and going, okay, did I knock on? Okay, I didn't knock on this house yet. Yeah. And so I thought, if she can do that, then I can power through this for the course of this campaign. So you were absolutely, and continue to be an inspiration, and I will be determined for you to be an inspiration for people moving forward, because anytime anyone complains to me, as soon as they start, Cara Schulz was literally knocking on doors, battling stage 4 cancer and having surgeries and everything else. I'm sorry your leg hurts. You will be fine. And Cara Schulz.
We have troopers as candidates.
Yes.
Like Christy Witchers, she broke her leg and she did a parade.
I believe it.
Bethany Baldus in her first run, she also, I'm not sure, she broke her leg and she kept door knocking. I don't think people give candidates enough credit to realize what it's like when you are running for office and you're doing a serious run, and the sacrifices that they make and what they go through.
It is great. Yep.
People see what you let them see, right? They see the smiling and the parade and that when you get a TV appearance, like they see those kind of things, but they're not seeing all of the missed family dinners and events, all of the things that happen all through the year that are amazing and wonderful.
Right.
And you're just not taking part in it. They're not seeing the spouse who's having to pick up all of the slack. And if they have kids, doing all of the caretaking.
Yep.
Those are the things that they're not seeing. And so I don't think our candidates get enough appreciation and thanks for what they go through. And when you are a candidate, being a candidate is like being naked on a dating app, but having an entire city, each person deciding whether they're swiping right or left, and they're going to do it very publicly. I mean, you are so exposed, and people say, don't take it seriously. Don't take it so personal.
Don't take it personally. It's just politics. It's not personal. Yeah.
Oh no, it's personal. They looked at you and either said yes or no. That's about as personal as it gets.
That's fair. That's true. And you're right. People don't see it because we can't show that to them. I can't show up to a bunch of people who took an evening off to hear me speak and go, "Hey everyone, I'm Spike Conan. I'm tired and I haven't slept for 8 hours in weeks. And this bus, blah blah blah. And and I haven't eaten yet. I'm hungry. And my wife's having to pick up all the slack back home and do all and pay the bills and there's
I don't have clean underwear.
Yeah, you can't. I think I always had clean underwear, but I think I always had clean underwear. But yes, you can't do that. You can't show up and be like,
No.
You can't do that because they want to hear why you're running. And if you tell them about your struggle, they're going to go, hey, that's great. Why should I vote for you? So,
Your job is to uplift them,
yep.
to bring them into your dream, right? So that you can all have a vision together. And so you can't show a lot of those human things that you're going through.
Exactly. So what would you, and this is sort of coming off that other question, you ran for city council, and I've had a lot of people that want to run for citywide offices, right? So either city council, or they want to run for mayor, or they're a district, a water board district, or a power district, or a large education district or something like that. They want to run a local race, which is a much more acute and personal type of race. What were the things that were
politics?
Right, exactly. The ultimate retail politics, sometimes only retail politics. With that said, what would you say were like the most couple of effective things that you did that you found? You talked about, you wrote down what was the best things to do, what were the biggest waste of time. In your race, what were the best things to do and what were the biggest waste of time?
So when you are a candidate for that type of race, there's really only two things that matter. Well, that have primacy.
Okay.
And that is one-on-one voter engagement, and it is money. And that is it. And as a candidate, every moment of your waking time should be spent on one of those two things. Either calling or meeting with someone to get money, or engaging with someone one-on-one to get the vote. That's it. And you have to get very focused on that. Those are really the only two things you're going to spend your time on, and the rest has to go to volunteers and staff.
Okay.
So like, your sign design, or even putting out signs, or writing a press release, or all of those other things.
That
right?
has to go to someone else. Yeah.
That has to go to someone else, because those are things that the candidate does not have to do. But that direct voter engagement and asking for money, that is what a candidate has to do, and they have to do it day in and day out. So when you are prepping for your campaign, before you're going to start field operations, your door knocking and phone banking and all that kind of stuff, about 60% of your time should be spent asking for money. Okay. 60% of your day should be spent asking for money. Once you start field operations, 30% of your time should still be spent asking for money. That other 60% will be door knocking and field operations, and then the other 10% will be media interviews and that type of thing. So you have to get very focused, get your plan set, be extremely disciplined, and then execute your plan every single day. You have to get forward to it. I have a ton of appreciation for our candidates. I don't have a lot of warm fuzzies for lazy candidates. I'm just very blunt about that.
Yeah, no, I get it. So your message basically is it is crucial to be focused. You have to have a team. Early on, your main focus needs to be on getting the money to be able to build the infrastructure out. Yes. And then if you already have that money, or once you get that money to be able to do it, then you need to allow the team to do all the back end stuff, and you go off and make what you said when you were doing the brief door knock training. You said you want to leave people with warm fuzzy stuff. Now when you're the candidate, yep, it's a little bit more than that, but that you have to spend that bulk of your time getting in front of people one-on-one. Yes, you need to do media. Yeah. Yes, you need to do that kind of stuff, but all that takes a back burner to being in front of a person where they can ask you a question, where you can give them your website, your phone number, your whatever, and say, I want you to reach out to me, and I want you to know that I'm available to you, and I want you to find out more about my race, and I'm here to even answer some questions if you want. You have to spend the time to do that. You have to actually, do the hard work to get everyone in your area, because especially if you're running as a libertarian, there's a good chance that you're going to be running in this type of a race against better funded candidates, or at least equally funded candidates who have the inertia of a major party behind them. Even if it's a nonpartisan race, it's
Absolutely.
still the party is still there. And the name recognition, you may have to be fighting in an uphill battle. If you're running against an incumbent, you may be in an uphill battle. You need to equalize all of that by getting in front of preferably every door in your area, but if that's not possible, as many doors as possible to make that personal connection, so that when someone goes to the ballot, they go, oh, Cara Schulz, she stopped by my house, and I saw those 16 million ads from that other person, but this one actually stopped at my house and answered my question, and she looked good, she was great, and she was battling cancer on my front lawn, and have them vote for you. Make that be the deciding factor. So that would be your main message here.
And always look for a way to make everything very personalized and very one-on-one. So, when you do door knocking, for instance, after you talk with someone and you listen to what's important to them, each evening you write them a thank you note. You write every person a thank you note who answered their door. And that goes out. So you're going to be spending a couple hours each night writing those out. But this is probably the only time they will have ever received a thank you note from a candidate running for office. And the fact that you remembered what was important to them means that you took the time to listen to them. Because if you are supposed to be a steward, you're supposed to be representing them. You have to prove that you can listen to them. I mean, that should be a baseline, right? So always look for ways to make your race very personal, human being to human being. When you look at parades, I mean, you can definitely do a parade, and I'm not saying don't do a parade, but look at parades differently. If instead of being in a parade, which, let's face it, there are no parents of children, and that's generally who goes, parents with their kids, right? Sitting there going, geez, I hope there are some political candidates in this parade, because that would be so exciting. That is not going to happen, right?
Right, of course.
No. And the kids are not excited about that. Like, they want you to throw candy, and that's really it. So how do you make something like that more of a personal one-on-one engagement rather than it just being like a walking billboard, right? What you can do is you can do something like make activity sheets for the little kids. And before the parade starts, you and your volunteers, you walk along the edge of the parade, not on the street side, on the sidewalk side, and you introduce yourself and hand those out to the kids, because the kids and the parents have probably been there for a while to get the good spots, right?
Right.
And after 5 minutes, the kids are not happy.
Yeah.
And the parents are not happy, right? Everyone's just trying to hold on to their temper and make it until kickoff time.
Right.
But now you're actually doing something that improves their life in just a small way. Like, you're showing that your focus is on recognizing that in that moment they have a challenge and you are looking for a solution to help them, even in just this small way. So by you introducing yourself and giving them an activity sheet for, to keep the kids occupied for a while until it goes, that's already starting out how you feel the relationship should be, which is one of service and one where you are looking to help solve problems, like real solutions to a problem, even little teeny ones, right? So look for ways to do that. Get creative. We're libertarians. Some things we can do the same in our campaigning because it makes sense.
Right.
But in other ways, we have to campaign differently because we believe things differently. We have a different philosophy. We are not looking to rule over and govern people. We are looking to be stewards who help people with solutions to problems.
And to cooperate
That's what
with
we're
them.
looking to do.
Yeah, and to
Right?
cooperate with them. Yeah. So
So do it in your campaign.
these are brilliant things. And by the way, incidentally, I don't want to bury the lead here. You are, again, as I said before, you are the head of candidate recruitment for the Libertarian Party. So, folks, if you're listening to this and you're going, wow, these are great, I hope this show lasts 3 hours so that she can just keep saying more stuff that I can do to win my race. No, run, announce you're running, get started with running, and get in contact. I always screw up. Get in contact with Cara, because she can give you all this stuff, things that we don't have the time to go over, all the different ideas, really good ideas on how you can win this race and completely revolutionize how candidates are winning races. Some of the candidates who have been, that were the most successful, those who won races and those who came painfully close to winning races but didn't quite win them, were either directly utilizing things Cara told them or were themselves doing the types of things that Cara recommends, especially in these local and statewide and district-wide races and stuff like that. You can do this. Running for Congress, running for city council, running for mayor, running for any of this stuff. Doing these things works. Chris Cleveter came painfully close to unseating a very well-known, 100% name recognition, powerful incumbent. He came incredibly close. I think, if he decides to do it again, he's going to win the thing because he's going to have the base. He's going to have nearly as much name recognition. She may not run for re-election again, and especially if it's a wide open race, I think he's going to win it. He came really, really close to winning, considering this was his first time running for anything.
Have to take 2 runs at it.
Yeah. Well, you did.
Winning on your first shot is kind of like a wild, awesome thing, but usually it takes 2 runs.
Okay. And
it took normal. Just make that as part of your plan.
It took you to
run to win,
but know that it's going to take a second run to really drive it home, or expect that might happen. And it did for you. You had to do a second run to be able to do that. But you were armed and able to hit the ground running for the second time, armed with the knowledge of what worked and what didn't work. And you're able to show this to people like Chris and others who either won their races or came very, very close and will be now set to be able to do it again. So you are definitely the person to talk to about this. Now that you have been reelected, and this is something you've been doing, these are 2-year terms or 4-year terms? 4-year terms. In office, what are your main goals that you want to achieve in this office?
So one of the things that I want to do is eliminate pain points. When residents are interacting with local government, there's often a lot of pain points. But finding them and ferreting them out and eliminating them, that's a bit of a task.
Yeah.
And you find out how many layers there are to things, how the tentacles have kind of gone all through your zoning and your regulations and, your code and all that kind of stuff. So it's finding that and eliminating that, so that we're trying to return more power to our residents. And but we're also trying to help them with solutions they may not have considered or thought of in a different way. But a lot of it when you're in local office is either trying to roll back things that have already been put in place or put in place for decades and decades.
Right,
so it's
right.
Rooting all those things out and eliminating those. It is making things more simplified. It is putting things into layperson's language, so it's not all jargon and very difficult for the average person to read and understand easily. And it's also trying to stand in between the most evil excesses that try to get pushed onto your residents, and to do your best to protect them from that. And sometimes the best you can do is a fighting rear guard, but that's what you do. And other times, you can win some battles. And so that's what you do. But you push forward as far as you can go, and then you hold it and solidify it and gain buy-in and support and respect and trust. And then people are willing to take more steps with you. You can go farther.
Yep.
So a lot of it is building trust, building relationships. We have a city council, and although we are nonpartisan, we have one member who is a Democrat, another Libertarian. So I worked with him and helped him get elected in 2018 to join me. And then we have one Republican, and then our mayor is also Republican, although I think she's had some shifts, but we'll see. And so, you'll have that even on a nonpartisan board. People do have those backgrounds. And so you have to work with people where you can work with them. And that's what you do. If you join a city council, or you join some type of council or organization, and all you're doing is no, and being
Right.
all rowdy and that kind of stuff, you're not going to get anything done. You have to show that you are there to be a good steward and to do the best you can for your residents, and to be trustworthy. And people can, they know when you say your word is your word, that's what it is, which is pretty rare in politics.
I was going to say, this is libertarian governance, which looks completely different from Republican governance.
Yeah.
A focus on reducing the interactions that people have to have with government, making those interactions not just fewer and farther between, but also less harmful in the first place, less difficult to manage, less inconvenient, more user-friendly, for lack of a better word, and also decoupling government from being a means of seeking power over others and using it as a stepping stone for your own personal, political ambitions and all of that stuff, and making it truly about just being a steward of what you've been entrusted with, and trying to decentralize that power as much as possible. All the things we talk about doing, but instead of talking about doing it to each other, talking about doing it in a place where you can actually do it because you got elected to office and are able to do so. This is the kind of reasons why I wanted to do this show, is to, I tell people, don't let your memes be dreams. And, as it applies to this, is don't let your ideas for how things should be just be something you talk about with other like-minded people. Let's go win converts to it. Let's go get into positions of office, positions of power, where we can actually do these things, which makes it that much easier for us to sell it to other people who are a little bit more skeptical and incredulous, and understandably so, because we haven't done it on a mass scale before, and to show them, like, this is what libertarian governance looks like, and we can do this all over. So again, you are the head of candidate recruitment. And so I'm going to give you your chance to pitch all the people that are watching that are thinking of running for office, or already know they're going to run for office, or don't know they're going to run for office yet because they haven't been to their local meeting where they get voluntold while they're going to the bathroom, and then come out and go, what do you mean I'm running for state house? What is your message to them? What would you like to say that we haven't had a chance to talk about yet? What do you want to say to those folks? Besides, of course, get in contact with you. What do you want to say to people who want to run for offices as Libertarian? Cara Schulz, the floor is yours.
I would say, have a goal for why you're running for office. Mm-hmm. Your goal can be to win office, right? You're in it to win it. You are there to, be elected into that office and positively impact people's lives. And it is an amazing, amazing thing when you see an injustice, and for once in your life, you have the ability to help, like to actually help and change things, and to have an impact in your community. The decisions I'm making in my community aren't just for today. They are going to impact and change my city for 10, 20, and 30 years out. It will have a lasting impact. So if you want to have that kind of impact, not just, complain about it on Facebook or Twitter or, wherever it is, like if you want to do that,
Yeah.
Run for office, do it, and have your plan and be serious about this. There are some candidates who want to run, and they're running in a race that they are highly unlikely to win. And we can show you how to look if your race is, one that is, a probable win or a more challenging one to win, or just probably not going to happen. But they have a clearly defined goal for running. And in 2018, we had a few candidates who are running, who are experienced candidates. Their goal was to train candidates and campaign teams to prepare them for their own runs. They were successful in that, and those were some of our wins in 2019. So that's a win. Those are campaign wins, right?
Yep.
And they had that clearly defined goal. And so they ran their campaign in a very specific way to accomplish that goal. A few others, their goals were, they wanted to push a certain issue. They knew they couldn't win, but they wanted to push both old party candidates into a corner to force them on a specific issue. And they succeeded in that. And those candidates had to make good after they won on that issue. And it was an issue that they caused them to flip on. That's a win. So they ran their campaign in a very specific way. It was all geared towards elevating that issue and forcing a public view to change, which would then in turn force these candidates to change their platform. So there's different ways that you can win, but you have to have a very clearly defined goal. And whichever way you want to do that, I'm on board with you. I will help you make that plan. I will get you connected to your state affiliate. And it will be an amazing thing. Running for office is hard, but some of my absolute best friends now I made while running for office. I would have never met them otherwise. And so my life is enriched so many ways by doing that. It's just incredible. So definitely, if you have that fire in you, you're willing to do it, let's do it. Let's run for office. Let's go for it.
And get in touch with Cara. Get in touch with Cara. I have seen Cara turn people who wanted to run for office into people who won. Well, she didn't turn them, but she helped give them the tools for them to actually be able to win their office or come so close. And so, which again sets them up for the next time, because those ones who came so close, they had often never run before. So next time around, they're going to be that much better set. So, Cara, thank you again so much for coming on. You are, besides being a dear friend, you are one of my top inspirations. You are one of the people routinely, when I start to woe is me about, I'd like to sleep or get something to eat, I immediately start, but I don't even have to do it consciously anymore. I hear it in my head, Cara Schulz did whatever. So she had cancer. So so thank you for that, for putting that ear demon in my brain. And that, reminds me that, my struggle is nothing compared to yours. And has allowed me to.
Spike, it's an honor for me to be talking to you, because in the liberty movement, people have wondered for some years now, where's our next Ron Paul? Where is our next Ron Paul? Where is this person that's, our next generation that's going to, be able to voice this whole liberty craziness in a way that people understand and is true and like compassionate and amazing and just brings people on. And that is you. So, I mean, I'm beyond excited to see this happen, to be around here, to be able to see this. And I'm not blowing smoke. I mean, dude, you're it.
I appreciate that. This is how she gets people to do stuff. It's, oh, I wish I had a magic potion. You're the next Ron Paul. Okay, fine. I'll do whatever you want me to do. Thank you. No, thank you. It means a lot to me, and I'm honored to and grateful to have people like you, and specifically you as a colleague and a friend in this fight. You are absolutely incredible, and thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. And I love you, and you're amazing. Thank you.
This has been a wonderful time. I really appreciate it. And I love that you're doing this series, because the LP is about winning. We are here to win.
Thank you. Exactly. We are here to win. The L means victory. We'll have to work on that part. Folks, and thank you for tuning in to this episode of Culture of Winning. I'm having 3 episodes this week because I put a lot on myself. So we are on Thursday, Thursday, December 3rd, I am interviewing Alan Esposito. And then on Friday, December the 4th, I am interviewing Ben Bacchus. And of course, tomorrow, I'm doing the 4th anniversary episode of the Muddy Waters of Freedom on Muddy Waters Media. And on Wednesday, I am doing I don't know what anniversary episode of My Fellow Americans, where I'm talking with David Gay, the admin of Liberty Memes. We're going to be talking about Liberty Memes $5 charity club and volunteerism, and how we can use charity and mutual aid to demonstrate how libertarianism works, that we don't need government to provide for us. We can actually do it better for ourselves, and it would be easier for us to do so if they weren't in the way. So we're going to be talking about that. And then on Thursday, we are Alan Esposito right back here on Culture of Winning. And then on Friday, Ben Bacchus. And folks, thanks again for tuning in to Culture Winning. I am Spike Cohen. You are the power. God bless, guys.